lesson. It's a lesson you better learn. 'Cause if you want my love, babe, you're gonna have to wait your turn. I'm gonna tell you something, gonna lay it on the line. 'Cause if you want my love, babe, you're gonna have to wait a long time. 'Cause you're the last in line. 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 Alright, hello there, thrill seekers, and that song was called The Last in Line, and it is from the first Dementia 13 album, the first album I released under the fake band name Dementia 13, and basically the song is a rewrite of the old 13th Floor Elevators song, You're Gonna Miss Me. It's the same chords except put in a different order, and even the chorus, you know, you're the last in line, is from that You Didn't Realize. If you ever heard the 13th Floor Elevator song, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you won't. So that was the song for today. And before we go any further, I have a big announcement, which is that I'm doing my 2022 tour of Europe, and I should have announced this ages ago. The dates should be appearing on your screen right now. It's September 1st through 4th. I'm doing a retreat in Finland. September 7th through 11th, I'm at BENEDIKTUSHOF in Germany. And on September 11th itself, I'm doing a public talk at BENEDIKTUSHOF, so you don't have to be at the retreat to go there. On September 12th, I'm doing a talk at a place called Ko Getsu An, which is near Bonn, Germany. That's September 12th. September 13th, I'm doing a talk at Sambo Dojo in Bonn, Germany. September 14th and 15th, I'm doing some events in Paris, but I'm waiting for the details. September 17th and 18th, I'm doing a weekend retreat in Lyon in France. September 20th, doing a ZAZEN and talk in Antwerp, Belgium. September 21st, another talk, I guess without ZAZEN, in Antwerp, Belgium. And September 24th through 27th, I'm doing a retreat in Hebden Bridge in England, which I do every year. And there are links in the description below this video for more information on all of these events. And the email addresses where you can write to for info for those events are on your screen. And if you go to hardcorezen.info/events, you will find the whole list with all the links. So that's hardcorezen.info/events for more info on my events. We'll see you there. So I got a question recently, and as you know, since before your sun burned hot in space and before your race was born, I have awaited a question, and here is the question. It says, one of those friends, the questioner has been talking about friends who are into spirituality and stuff, judges enlightenment teachers by their juice, in quotation marks. For someone who seems to know a fair amount of Sanskrit, he always calls it juice. So maybe what I hear is, as juice is a Sanskrit word, I don't know. Juice is when he gets near some teacher, almost always a Hindu guru, he feels energy. To me, it sounds like being near someone with juice is just his way of getting high, feeling good, without having to do anything other than being there. When they're in India, that does involve some danger. But as a spiritual practice, the whole notion seems counterproductive to me. Another version of juice would be the type of guru who just touches someone on the forehead, they fall back in a swoon, and enter a mystical experience. Either way, they haven't had the experience of becoming aware on their own, making this more like a psilocybin journey than enlightenment. So any comments on juice are welcome. So I have a few things I can say about this subject. So there is a technical term for this, and it's called Shakti or Shaktipat, and I don't know a whole lot about Shakti and Shaktipat except what I've read here and there. I haven't studied it intimately because it's not something that Buddhists are really, he's peeing on a tree back there. Anyway, so you got to see that. Anyway, so it's not something that's really part of the Buddhist tradition. It's part of the Hindu tradition, but the idea is that certain spiritually advanced beings have this special power called Shakti, which they can transmit to others by just their being around. And there's a satsang, I think is the word. There's a word for being around the spiritually enlightened teacher, and I think the word is satsang. And it just means that you get some kind of enlightenment just by being... Oh, I gotta shut the door. The door just swung open. Sorry, they're working on the electricity here in the neighborhood, and I have to keep the door open so that the guys can get back to work on my little thingamabob, the transformer or whatever it's called over there. And so and it's also disturbing Ziggy, and then I have to shut the door. Anyway, it's a whole long story. I have to keep the door open so that they can get in, but I have to keep it shut so Ziggy doesn't get out. So anyway, what was I saying? Okay, Shakti is something that's transferred during this experience of satsang. Jesus, the door just swung open again. Anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, so you get this Shakti pot when you're near the spiritual teacher. And the one experience I had of this, I wrote about in my blog a long time ago, and I might have put it in one of my books. I think maybe it's in There Is No God and He's Always With You. I don't know. I think it's in one of my books. And it was when I went to see the teacher who's named Amma, I think is her name. Amma. I'll put it on the screen if I'm wrong. Anyway, she's this Hindu lady who apparently has lots of Shaktipat, and then you go and she's the hugging saint, so you go and you hug her, and then you get this great feeling of Shaktipat, this great feeling of juice, as my questioner calls it. It was really theatrical, I thought. They had this system where you were supposed to kind of go down on your knees and wait for your turn to see Amma, and so that was already a thing. And then you kind of crawl on your knees until you reach a certain point, and then they kind of grab you, and then they put you there, and she hugs you, and she whispers something in your ear, which to me sounded like Megillah, Megillah, Megillah. And then then they spin you around. Literally, they spin you around and push you over to the side so you're done. And of course, the spinning around is disorienting, and I think that's part of what leads people to think that they've been, they've had the Shaktipat, that they've had the infusion of energy. I didn't feel anything particularly, juicy about that. It was vaguely erotic when she's whispering in your ear, which is kind of didn't really. I didn't really expect that, but, I didn't feel any Shaktipat. I was around my teachers, Gudo Nishijima Roshi, my ordaining teacher, and Tim McCarthy, my first teacher. I felt something special about them, but it wasn't like a kind of energy of being around them. Now, one thing I can kind of compare this to is that in Indian culture, the gurus are like celebrities. And I've met a few celebrities in my life because I worked for a film production company, and that gives you access to celebrities sometimes. The biggest star I ever met was Gene Simmons, the bass player from Kiss. In case you didn't know, you should know that if you're watching this channel. And I met him on 2 occasions in which we had meetings with him to discuss an animation project he wanted to do, possibly with our company. It never happened, but we were talking to him about it. And there was a certain kind of energy I could feel from him, but that's, a lot of that I attribute to, I was listening to this guy's music since I was 14 years old, maybe even younger than that, and I was, kind of starstruck by him a little bit, and because he is a professional celebrity, he knows how to turn on the charisma and the charm. So, I think it's kind of the same thing. The kind of charisma, charm thing that you feel from professional celebrities, along with that feeling of kind of anticipation and the build-up you've had in your mind towards the person, can make you feel like something is happening that maybe more of a psychological effect than anything else, which isn't to say that there's no value. I hate double negatives. So I guess that is to say there can be some value. If you want to eliminate the double negatives on there, there can be some value to that. It can spur you on. It can kind of inspire you and give you a kind of more energy to your practice and stuff like that. So it has some value there, but I don't think you can transfer enlightenment from one person to another in the way that I think a lot of the mythology has it. Because the idea of Shaktipat, as I understand it, in my limited understanding of it, seems to be that even without doing any sort of spiritual practice of your own, you can kind of glean the benefit of someone else's intense spiritual practice by just being around them. Maybe a teeny tiny bit, but I don't think it's really that significant. It's not like you can get rid of years of spiritual practice by just hanging around with somebody who's really so supposedly advanced. And the other thing is it can be phony too, as I mentioned with the thing with Amma. I don't want to get into any debates about Amma herself, but I could feel that there was a lot of theatricality in the Shaktipat thing, and I imagine there's a lot of, the word fake and fakir come from Indian sort of magic, the idea of, because there are magicians all over the world, and in the Indian style of magic is often, magic in the sense of Doug Henning, or I don't know who the big magicians are these days, stage magicians with tricks, and a lot of that gets mixed in. There's the guys working on the electricity. A lot of that gets mixed in with the spiritual traditions in India, and I think you gotta kind of watch out for that. I don't know if any of that's really true, or any of it that's really useful. The other thing, which might not apply to so many of you, but maybe some of you watching it, maybe it'll apply to you. I've had these comments directed to me. I've had people tell me, or I've heard, through the grapevine or whatever, through rumors, that people are feeling this sort of thing when they get around me. They're feeling this sort of spiritual energy emanating from me and all this stuff. Again, I take that to the whole celebrity thing, because I'm a minor celebrity in this world, and then people are impressed and they've read my books and they've built up an image, and they want that image to be real, and then they have an experience of meeting me, and then they have that thing. The other thing is, internally for me, I've got to watch how I react to that. I know somebody who works in this sort of same business as me, this sort of spiritual teacher business, who gets really taken in by it. All the people are always telling her that she's great and has the spiritual energy and blah blah blah, and then she believes it, and to her detriment. I think it causes some stickiness in there, believing that sort of thing. So you gotta be careful of that. You can kind of go down a long, deep, dark road if you start believing your own hype about how spiritual you are. So you gotta be careful of that, and I think some of that happens to people in positions like me. They get seduced by all the people telling them how much spiritual energy they have and all this stuff, and then they kind of project it out, and it becomes a kind of little feedback loop. And some people try to use it to do good with it, but I think it's a slightly dangerous sort of thing to play around with. So there you go. There's my feelings about juice. I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to contribute to me being able to buy more juice, like actual juice for my fridge, you can go to the URL you're seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my main and usually only ways of making a living. So I appreciate your support. But as always, this is offered for free, so you don't got to support me if you don't want to support me. We will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. So you barking at the electrical guys, huh? You don't like people working on electricity over there? Yeah. Okay, Ziggy. Yeah, they're fine. Don't worry about them, okay? Yeah, don't worry about the electric guys.